So I'm the third generation. I've been here all my life. I'm a descendant of Captain Horse, the first Indian leader that was given a piece of land here on this reservation. And his Indian name was Izawika, or the Coyote Rope. I got grandkids that's coming up, and I'm gonna stay here. I'm not leaving. And this is the first time I'm getting involved with this, because I figured maybe if I don't, and if I don't succeed, I can say, well, at least I tried. You know, try to keep my land instead of putting that stuff here.
The reason everybody's here today is to discuss the issue with the people where they are proposing to put the nuclear waste, and to educate them, make them aware of the hazards, the health hazards of today and of tomorrow's people. In Oklahoma, we had 11 Indian tribes that all put in for these grants to study nuclear waste, and we've been able to get all of them to withdraw, and the most recent one was the Tonkawas. I'd like to say to the Fort McDermott, Paiute, and Shoshone people here, you're not alone. I mean, you know, they're trying to do this to all of our Indians all over the nation, and we're just trying to explain to you what we've been able to do to stop the Department of Energy and the federal government and the nuclear industry from putting this nuclear waste on our Indian lands.
I made this trip just to tell my Native Americans over here not to make the same mistake as we Lagunans did, and I hope they'll understand and realize what I said is the most important thing, or the most important decision that they have to make, is not letting anybody destroy their beautiful land.
The legislative history suggests that the most that a tribe could ever expect from the nuclear waste negotiators, $1.5 million, which when you divide it among the 600 or 700 enrolled members, as well as the 250 of us that are not enrolled, then it dilutes it down to where something we would look forward to maybe per year about $54.
But I happened to go to Washington, D.C. on a workshop, and what I found out there scared the far out of me. I come home with a whole new attitude towards nuclear waste. Even though I wasn't going to be living on the reservation in northern Oklahoma, on the Tonkawa Reservation, where this was going to be, I still lived about, I'd say about 90 to 100 miles from there. But if there was any type of contamination of any type where it's set, it would contaminate our area just as well.
Some places where I've been, the nuclear power, their rods been thrown into the ocean or stored someplace else. But the DOE, the Department of Energy, have told us, we all know that they told us they're going to keep it there for 40 years. After 40 years, they're going to dig them up and move them to a permanent storage. They haven't found that permanent storage yet, but they're still moving them around. What are they trying to do to us as a people? Try to shorten our life or kill us off, or what is it?
Put it in these generals and admirals' backyards and let them prove it's safe. And every congressman and senator that votes for it, put one in their yard and let their families prove that these materials will be safe to breathe and won't contaminate the land. So why should our peoples always be the ones to say that it's not safe, and we have to prove that it's not safe? Well, let them prove it's safe by using their own generals and admirals and their families, senators and congressmen that think it's a good idea. Let them bear the fatalities that will arise from it.
difficulty with asking why Congress doesn't put the waste in their backyard if it's such a safe deal. Goes back to the issue of we versus they. In our system of government, Congress has the same problem that the citizen has. We all have this waste. This waste has been created to produce electricity for us. And we've utilized the electricity. And now comes the time to dispose properly of the waste. And there's no we or they. We're all the same country, and the waste must go somewhere. And the issue is it going to be done safely?
Now that the former Soviet Union has revealed some of the tremendous amounts of damage that had been done to the environment and people on a much larger scale than here at the United States, but that's not to minimize what had been done here. The Hanford Nuclear Reservation is the oldest and largest nuclear facility in the country, and as a consequence we have the most waste by volume there at Hanford. And the Yakima Nation became involved about 1977, and by 1978 we found that Hanford had been considered a possible location for a high-level nuclear waste repository. Upon informing the Department of Energy and requesting information, they eventually asked me, "What business is this of yours?" And I said, "You happen to be on the ceded area of the Yakima Indian Nation due to the Treaty of 1855. And each manager, each scientist, each engineer said, "Treaty? What treaty? What the hell are you talking about?"
If we're going to save the Native Americans, we should be classified under the endangered species. We should be saved.
And until you've had somebody die from radiation exposure, have them die from leukemia or cancer, or have severe mental, physical retardation, or any other number of illnesses, you don't have a full understanding of what the risks are. You don't have balanced information. We're sitting out in Nevada. We have to develop our own health research. We get no help from the Department of Energy or anybody else. And these are the things that those people in any proposed MRS facility will have to be dealing with if and when there's an accident.
And if it gets into the upper reaches of our canyons and where the water perennial flows are there, what are we going to do? It impacts upon not only the livelihood as human beings, but our spirituality, because it is impacting upon the cultural sites that we have, many of them which are very significant, have meaningful significance to us in the form of shrines and other holy places.
My Indian name is Elder Eagle. I am a member of the Bear Clan of the Menominee Indian Tribe of Wisconsin. In 1945, I was a United States Marine Sergeant with the 2nd Marine Division, the 2nd Engineer Battalion. We were the first troops into Nagasaki, Japan, just about a month after the 2nd A-bomb was dropped. We saw the effects of it, and I even saw the shadow of a man etched into concrete. But one day I saw 4 people coming down the street of Nagasaki, Japan. I hope I never witness this thing again, because what I saw was 4 Japanese people dying from radiation sickness. They were victims of radiation. Their faces were misshapen, no ears, part of their faces gone, and they were white as sheets. I took a solemn vow at that moment that it would never happen to my people as long as I had a breath in my body.
We had to rely on the spiritual power thousands and thousands of years ago. In some places, the water is already so bad that we can't use it. Some places we're told not to drink water. And the fish life in the oceans are dying. Our birds disappearing by the millions. And today, throughout the world, the animal life began to lose their senses. We should learn from it and see the problem that they're having. We've been told that from the beginning of our life. We were different, we were savages. But today we're not. We're all going to have to be one people in order to survive. We cannot survive without those things I talk about.
I've made visitations to some of the Holden ponds, the evaporated ponds of hot water, where I've seen the animals, the wild game that we consume on a regular basis, the effect that it has on many of the herbs, the roots and the plants that we gather, the nuts that we gather from peon trees and whatnot, that we have at this point in time been involved in our food chain, the many things. One of the most radical things that I've heard, from one of our sister pueblos, is that last year when one of the pueblos went out for a communal hunt, they brought a elk down that was to them and to one who was knowledgeable, was full of tumors, so that when they brought the elk down, they did not bring it down into the community because they were afraid.
The problem is that when you get to the local level of where, the issue and the question of where are we going to do this national policy of sound and safe disposal, which everyone agrees to, suddenly becomes a very controversial thing, because then it's a personal and parochial issue. It's no longer a national policy question.
Given the examples of Rocky Flats in Colorado and the other places, that when human beings handle dangerous material, that eventually something spills or creates a hazard of some sort, like Rocky Flats.
The Department of Energy did come out with a statement that they wanted the entire 8,000 membership of the Yakima Nation to go to work at Hanford cleaning it up. What more? How much more do our people have to bear? The more I learned about the dangers of radioactive materials, they wanted us to eliminate ourselves.
We thought there was a lot of good money, and up to now I'm still sorry that my native people had to let the land go and have it being destroyed.
The concept that you can separate the environment and the humans and health is not possible, especially when you approach it from a cultural viewpoint. You cannot separate health from the environment, otherwise the environment will continue to lose.
The problem is that the nuclear reactors that are producing electricity in this country need a place to dispose of some of this waste now, because the fuel pools are filling up.
It actually is a form of genocide because of the harm that it can do, to the genes in the reproduction of our people. So it's a very, very important issue to us, and I'm just under the impression that we here in the United States should just plain not produce anything that cannot be safely disposed of.
And the more I learned, the more I knew it wasn't a good idea for my people to be involved in it.
The spiritual part of the whole thing here is that the people that's doing what they're doing really don't understand what damages they are doing to the spiritual way of life of all the living things.
Even if they're promised this and they pass it, it's still got to go through Congress, and Congress tells you whether you're going to get that money or not. And if Congress will probably say, no, but you've still voted it in, you're going to get your MRS with all your nuclear waste and no money. That's sad. You're still going to be sitting on the sideline looking out at the world.
I think the more nuclear-free zones are established, gosh, if we just had them all over the country, we'd no longer have to worry about where you put it. We'd just almost have to automatically shut down these reactor plants.
Listen to what I say, that this is a story and a philosophy that was taught to me by my old people many, many years ago, who invoked the prophecies of their forefathers and their grandfathers, who talked about the same things and respected this land here in Mother Earth for what it is.
Well, to make a long story short, I'm against it.